Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. I hope you've had a good week or a good day, or whenever you're watching us again or re-watching us. I hope you've had a good time. Welcome back. Today we're talking about our second episode, which is
energy expenditure. So we spoke about what a calorie is and energy balance in the last episode, and how in order to create a change in body weight we need to alter energy balance. So generally we were speaking about reducing body weight. Mm-hmm. So if we carry that same theme along into this second episode, it's going to be really quite helpful.
Yes.
So the energy balance, we have two parts of the equation. We have energy intake and energy expenditure. So energy expenditure, we can break it down into lots of different sections. So some sections create more of an impact to our energy expenditure throughout the day, and some have a lot less impact on. So the majority of our energy is expended through something called basal metabolic rate, your BMR. So 70% of all energy expended through a day is going to be simply through existing. Your BMR is the amount of energy required in order to sustain life. If you were to sleep all day long, your heart would still have to have fuel to pump, your lungs would have to have fuel to expand and contract. All of your organs would need energy to still function. Our muscle tissue and our fat mass all needs an energy amount to maintain its current status. So 70% of all energy expended through the day is purely from just existing. So we can't really do much about that at all. Bigger people will have a larger expenditure, smaller people will have a smaller expenditure through that, just because the difference in the amount of person there is. What we can influence are three factors. So the first factor, which makes up the majority of all expenditure we can influence, which is only 15%, but it's the one we can expand, or it's the one we can exaggerate the most or influence the most. This is NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Sounds a bit dull sometimes. But your NEAT is all of the energy expended throughout the day which isn't specifically exercise. So it's non-exercise activity. So all the energy or all the activity you would do without necessarily putting your PE kit on and having a gym session or a workout or an exercise bout. So walking to the car, walking from the car into the shops, picking up items in the shops, like the heavier the items, the more energy is required to pick up those items, walking up and down stairs.
Picking up children, if you've got young children, I suppose a good arm workout. Mm-hmm. Parking further away, taking the stairs rather than the lift. That's a way to increase your NEAT. Parking further away in the car park. That's another
always.
Way to increase.
And parking further away from, we use the car often because generally you drive the car and you make it as convenient as quick as possible, don't you? But if you can just increase the amount of activity you're doing, which can suit and kind of plug into your life relatively easily, all these tiny little adjustments over a long period of time will build up and make a significant difference. Yeah. So even kind of parking the car a little bit further away from the destination and just walking in for the last 10 minutes, simple things like that make a big difference.
Yeah.
NEAT is very difficult to track because no one day is exactly the same. Even if you're kind of swinging your arms around a bit more, how you hold yourself when you sit, all of these small things.
Golf is a good NEAT.
Well,
is golf
this might touch some nerves. As sports go, golf is one of the least intense sports.
Yeah. So does it classify as a sport or a NEAT?
I think. Well, you're bordering on this line, which is at what point does purposeful NEAT become exercise? So, golf, yes, it's a fairly low energy, expensive sport per I don't know, per minute, but you're out walking around for 3-4 hours. You've got a strong argument that could be neat.
Yeah.
But
not sure the pro golfers will agree.
No, we might hit some nerves, but hopefully you're kind of understanding where we're getting to. But tracking your NEAT is incredibly difficult. But one easy way of doing this is to track the amount of steps you would do in a day. So your phone, all modern phones automatically track your step count in a day. You can get your smartwatches and your classic fitness pedometer type style. But tracking the amount of steps a person does in a day is a very good kind of overview of how active they are in a day. Which, again, when we're trying to increase the amount of expenditure a person has, tracking their steps is a really easy way, and I think the best way to track how active someone is. So we want to increase the activity per day to increase expenditure.
Yeah, and for example, it depends as well what kind of job you work in. So, for example, a postman is his NEAT. He's going to be an incredibly active person just because of the job he does. So he goes out and he, delivers mail. So
by nature,
he's highly active. Or cleaning is going to be a highly active, NEAT expenditure. So I was just thinking about that versus somebody that goes and is working at a desk is different. So it's then looking at how do you incorporate more steps in that kind of vicinity.
For an office worker, we have often suggested when you're taking a call,
go for a walk.
Walk up and down the office.
Yeah, if you can.
Walk up and down the garden if you've got enough Wi-Fi strength. But nipping over to someone's desk rather than just phoning them up. If you can just walk 15 paces over that way and then come back, just the simpleness of just getting out of the chair and going, it's going to be a fraction in a fraction of expenditure in that moment. But if you can start creating a habit out of it, but to become generally more active, we are going to massively accelerate the rate of weight loss by increasing the expenditure of a day.
Yeah.
So NEAT is the biggest influencing factor that we have control over. Next, after that, we have something called the thermic effect of feeding, TEF, it's sometimes written as. Now we do expend energy just from consuming, digesting and excreting food, organising it in the body and sorting it out. That does take an energy amount. Now we can increase that energy amount, which is great, it's what we're trying to do. We can increase that by increasing our protein consumption and our fibre consumption, but mainly protein consumption.
Why for protein?
Protein takes the most energy to break down.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. Like that often comes across as, it's tough to break. It takes more energy to break it down compared to carbohydrates and fats.
Yeah.
So one, if we're trying to bring someone's body weight down, being fuller for longer is a good thing to do. We spoke about that in the last episode.
Yeah, the satiety of protein.
Exactly. But also we have this added bonus of a slightly increase in expenditure from a high protein diet. So one, it fills you up for longer, great. So you probably consume less calories in a day.
That's good.
And then two, it's going to slightly bump up the expenditure. So we end up doing this to create hopefully a deficit if your calories are accounted for. And then thirdly and finally, we have EAT, exercise, activity, thermogenesis. Now this is when you do put your PE kit on. And you purposely go and do some exercise, walking again, but going out with purpose to walk, going for a hike, going for a run, doing an exercise class, going to the gym, playing sports. It's purposely designated exercising time.
Yeah.
Now this only contributes to about 5% of energy expenditure throughout the day, which is minimal, which is going to throw some people because you expect you're slogging it out in a hard gym workout for an hour.
Yeah.
But actually, you're in an energy expenditure. If we're looking at the expenditure of energy throughout that session, it's going to be lower than you think, which is quite sad and quite disheartening for a lot of people. But exercise has a whole host of different benefits to it. I mean, the list as long as her arm. Increase in strength, in bone density, in performance, in retaining muscle tissue. Mental health, reducing injury, socialising.
Connection.
Heart and cardiac health. I mean, increase in longevity, decrease in all-cause mortality. Like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. But if we're trying to increase energy expenditure to create a deficit or a larger deficit,
Neat's the way to go.
Yeah, precisely. Because we have we're awake for, let's just say, 16 hours a day. If we can increase how active we are in those 16 hours, that's going to have a much larger impact on the expenditure for the day compared to your 1 hour in the gym or your 1 hour doing anything. So where do we want to put our focus? We want to put our focus into NEAT. That's the first thing we want to be doing in creating a deficit. We want to create as much energy expenditure through NEAT as possible, so getting your steps right up. Then after that, we want to increase our protein intake. 1, it's great for satiety. 2, we're going to have a slightly increased expenditure. Happy days. And then finally, cherry on top, exercising for expenditure. You want to be exercising for lots of other reasons, like we just mentioned there.
Yeah.
So 15% from NEAT, 10% from TEF, thermic effective feeding, high protein, and 5% from energy expenditure.
70% from just existing.
Basal metabolic rate.
Yeah.
We blasted through that.
Yeah.
That was great.
That's good.
I hope you all found that interesting and insightful, and you managed to gain some new information and knowledge from that. Hopefully you can just begin to start putting your efforts into a better area.
Just being curious around kind of understanding how much do I move every day, or how many steps am I doing, maybe track, or just again developing that awareness around the kind of steps you're doing. And it will be different on the weekend if you walk the dog on the weekend and you don't walk them during the week, all of that kind of stuff. And then what you can do over the course of a week is looking at how much more NEAT can I do, and what kind of NEAT does that look like to me? So you're building in something again that's beneficial for your bespoke lifestyle, which is really important.
It's a practical homework tip for everyone. Grab your phone, see how many steps you've been averaging for the last week, and this time just add another 10-20% if you're trying to increase your expenditure to create a deficit to then bring body weight down. So there you go. See what your step count is, add 20% on, and let us know how you get on.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Please share this with a friend, like it, and we shall see you on the other side. See you next episode.